Black people still don't get it.
All right. All right.
For some time now, I have been trying to get the idea over that black people must take charge of their lives and those of their children.
All right.
We can't leave this to other people to do.
All right.
Because they're not going to do it.
All right.
And we cannot sit around wringing our hands and shaking our heads and talking.
All right.
It's getting late, brothers and sisters, especially for our children.
Yeah.
Now, when it gets to the point that the way we live is destructive
All right.
and leads to our extermination,
All right.
then we have to think about what has happened to our culture. And we need to take a long, serious look at our condition now.
Amen. Go right there.
Go ahead.
If culture is the sum total of artifacts which any group accumulates in its struggle for survival and autonomy,
All right.
then it's dynamic because it's a struggle. It's not static. It doesn't stand still and never change. It changes with the condition. Okay? Because as you try to survive and to be self-autonomous and the conditions change that keep you from doing that, you change in order to combat those conditions. Am I making sense to you? Okay.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. So guys, for so many years, black people, the black Americans, they have been fighting for their freedom in the United States. And also we have seen some of the challenges and some of the struggle that the black people, the black Americans, they are going through in the United States. In this video, we are going to listen and watch this powerful speech from Dr. Barbara Sismo. Dr. Barbara Sismo, she's calling all the black people to come together, all the black Americans to wake up. They need to start fighting back so that they can get their full freedom, because we know how the black people, they are being treated in the United States, how they are being given less opportunity, how they are being shown racist, and also how they are being oppressed. So Dr. Barbara Sismo, she's calling all black Americans to unite and also to fight for their rights in the United States. So kindly guys, watch this video till the end, then I'll be back with more comment.
About what's happening to our children in public schools. Now, most of the time when I come over here, that's what I talk to you about, because that's really where my life is centered. But it occurred to me that Alton's been in this struggle, and I'm very concerned about how we're progressing in it. So I thought a lot about it, sisters and brothers, and titled what I want to share with you tonight, called Black People Still Don't Get It.
All right.
For some time now, I have been trying to get the idea over that black people must take charge of their lives and those of their children.
All right.
We can't leave this to other people to do.
All right.
Because they're not going to do it.
All right.
And we cannot sit around wringing our hands and shaking our heads and talking.
All right.
It's getting late, brothers and sisters, especially for our children.
Yeah.
Now, when it gets to the point that the way we live is destructive
All right.
and leads to our extermination,
All right.
then we have to think about what has happened to our culture. And we need to take a long, serious look at our condition now.
Amen. Go right there.
Go ahead.
If culture is the sum total of artifacts which any group accumulates in its struggle for survival and autonomy,
Right.
then it's dynamic because it's a struggle. It's not static. It doesn't stand still and never change. It changes with the condition, okay? Because as you try to survive and to be self-autonomous, and the conditions change that keep you from doing that, you change in order to combat those conditions. Am I making sense to you? Okay. Now, what is survival? I mean, you know, what survival means that the group has to do at least three things. One, the group has to see that each individual member keeps himself or herself in good enough mental, moral, spiritual, and physical health long enough to reproduce that self and then take care of whatever you reproduce. That's the least. If you don't do that, the group dies. It's gone. Okay. So that's what survival means. In order to be self-autonomous, it means that the group has to have within its control the means to assure its survival.
All right.
You can't depend on nobody else to do that.
All right.
That's not going to happen. That's not the way the world works. Now, what are the chief obstacles to survival? Okay, let's just be real. What are they? One is nature. You got to have within the means of the group some way for the group to survive earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever.
All right.
Right? So nature is one. Other men and women who might want to take your land, water, means of survival.
All right.
And yourself.
All right.
You can't become no cotton picking drug addict, alcoholic, kill yourself.
All right.
Right?
That's right.
Okay. Those are the obstacles. Now, the culture that we pass down from generation to generation is supposed to help the group to survive and to be self-autonomous. The major way that we pass this culture on is through what? Groups. Family, church, school, organizations like this.
All right.
Those are the means. Okay, now, unfortunately for us, we live in a country where the overriding values of the country are against us. For instance, these overriding values put in the positions of privilege people who are white, people who are male, and people who are wealthy.
All right.
And these three groups dominate the society. So when we talk about teaching our children instrumental values like equality, liberty, fraternity, etc., we are talking about ordering those values under the institutional values of race, gender, and wealth. So that more white people get equality, liberty, and fraternity than black people, more men get equality, liberty, and fraternity than women, and more wealthy people get equality, liberty, and fraternity than poor people. You get it?
All right.
All right.
All right.
It doesn't do enough then, ladies and gentlemen, for us to teach our children about the instrumental values, you know, if we don't teach them the impact of the institutional values on the distribution of the latter. Otherwise, our kids don't get the full message and don't know how to behave. Now, when I was a young woman looking for a job in 1947, the newspapers would advertise, "No Negroes need apply." All right? Chicago, Illinois, March 28, 1947, Chicago, Illinois. I did not say Mississippi.
All right.
North, I was up north. All right? Right. So, what did that say? That said that on March 28, 1947, when I was looking for my first job, affirmative action was for white people. Now, just because we didn't call it that then, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean it wasn't. And now that it's our turn to have affirmative action, it's suddenly no turns. No turns. It's always our turn, right? It's always white people's turn for affirmative action. Nobody else gets a turn. So much for taking turns. But isn't that what we teach for 2 weeks in kindergarten? Oh, the teacher tells you, your child has to learn to take a turn. We teach him take a turn in kindergarten, take a turn in first grade, take a turn in second grade, wait your turn in third grade, don't butt in fourth grade, stay in line in fifth grade. When you get to be an adult, you stand and queue up at the cashier. Take your turn, wait your turn. But don't nobody take no turns in this country. It's always the white man's turn. It's always the rich man's turn. It's always their turn.
All right.
So much for taking turns. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, which legalized Jim Crow, and the overt racism that we knew as Jim Crow was forbidden. And most Negroes, now calling themselves black, thought the problem was solved. Black folks just didn't get it. We just didn't get it. We thought that the problem was segregation. But segregation was a symbol of the problem. The problem was this institutional value system of race, gender, and wealth. That's the problem. And ladies and gentlemen, it still is. The United States is not a democracy yet. It's trying to be. Trying to be. And I always tell my students when they say, I'm trying to do it, Miss Sizemore, I say, come here. And I say, I'm trying to hit you. I'm trying to hit you. Right? I'm trying to hit you. And then when I finish, I said, did I hit you? And he said, no. I said, so much for trying. But the United States is a capitalist country. It is that. Now, if it can be a democracy within the parameters prescribed by the capitalist paradigm, it does it. But when it can't, it won't. The basic premise of capitalism is to make a profit by any means necessary. And the unit of measure is the United States dollar. And ladies and gentlemen, it is taboo to teach this to your children. When I say taboo, I mean it's forbidden. For instance, if anybody gets up in front of a class and tries to teach the children about capitalism and how to be a capitalist, they are immediately labeled socialist or communist and run out of the room. Right? It's a taboo. Don't you think that's strange? That in a capitalist country, we cannot teach our children to be capitalists? Oh, think about it. Because you see, in a capitalist country, you are either a capitalist or you are a victim.
All right.
There's no in-betweens.
All right.
There's no in-betweens. You either play the game here or you're a victim of it. Now, you have to make a choice. Of course, you can always leave the country.
All right.
That's another choice. Right? Now, capitalism demands competition, selfishness, and mean-spiritedness. It demands it. But what do they teach your children in school? Be cooperative. Be cooperative. Take your turn. Don't fight. Don't cheat. Now, everybody engaged in capitalism knows that the motto is win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. And what I'm trying to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, is the real world that our children live in, not the ideal one that we want them to live in, not this wonderful world that we pray that will come here one day, but the real world that they have to live in. You want to know why they're acting so crazy? You want to know why they're doing the things that they're doing? Because we have not prepared them to live in this real world. We have sent them through 12 years of school teaching them this dumb stuff that doesn't work, and when they go out and try to apply it and get killed for it, we are not there to help them through.
All right.
Amen, go right.
We are not there.
All right.
We fade away on them. Somewhere around about 9th grade, we start talking about, I can't control him. I can't do nothing with him. Get out of my house if you don't do what I tell you to do. And we abandon them to the mean streets and then cry because they get murdered.
Right. That's right.
Capitalism is not compatible with equality. It is not compatible with equity. It is not compatible with Christianity, no matter how hard we try.
All right.
The struggle for survival in the United States is the handling of this never-ending tension between the institutional values of race, gender, and wealth, which give undue and unearned privileges and advantages to some so that others cannot compete on an equal basis for the resources of this country.
All right.
This is the game. This is the game, ladies and gentlemen. As Alton told you, politics is the management of the conflict which occurs when groups war over the resources.
All right.
Resources include money,
All right.
land, right? So politics is just the passing around of the resources.
Right.
If you don't have the resources, as Alton told you, you're not in the game.
Right.
Black people just don't get it.
All right. All right.
We just don't get it.
All right.
Those who are at the bottom form a group which is bound by its cultural artifacts. That's language, religion, tradition, art, music, style, values. And these form a bond of cohesion which, if nourished, does become nationalism.
All right. Right.
But it has to be nourished.
All right.
And it has to be nourished by the group.
All right. Thank you.
How do we do that? Family, church, school, organizations,
All right.
institutions. Okay.
All right. All right.
When it becomes nationalistic, then the group is strong enough to create an economic niche in which the people can slide to make a living.
All right.
But under capitalism, you must be a producer. You cannot continue to be consumers. African Americans spend more money than, well, there's one group that spends more money than us. We spend. Ladies and gentlemen, this means we do have money.
All right.
We spend it, right? So if you got money to spend, you do have money. This girl lost her father. She was in medical school when I was living in Pittsburgh. This young lady lost her father, and he left enough money for her to go to school to finish her medical school, but it was in probate in the Pennsylvania court, and so she needed the money to pay her tuition right away. So she came to me and she said, do you think that you could get $5,000 for me to pay my tuition? And she needed it like in 2 weeks. So I went to my block club. We had a nice little block club, you know, all these little middle-class people, professional people up on the hill. They're called Sugar Top in Pittsburgh. And so I went around the block club and I said, can we get $5,000 together to get to this girl so she could get through school? And they come talking to me, well, we haven't got that kind of money. Now I said, well, let's figure out some way to do it and we'll meet in 3 days. And so during that 3 days, I walked around in the 6-block area in which I live, which is called Sugar Top in Pittsburgh, and I just wrote down all the cars that cost more than $35,000. Now these cars, mind you, costing more than $35,000 was sitting out on the street. They didn't have garages to put them in. So I went to the next 3-day meeting and I had the long list of cars and I said, look, sisters, I said, look at all these cars that white people are parking in front of our houses. Because obviously, if we didn't have no money, we couldn't be buying $35,000 cars, right? Okay, so the sisters forked up the money, we gave it to the girl. But my point is that we say we don't have any money, but funny enough, we got money to buy all of these clothes and all of these cars and all these rings. I see brothers and sisters with 9 pounds of gold hanging around them, talking about they ain't got no money. Well, I guess not if it's all on plastic. But that's another problem. That's another problem. You must try to be plastic free.
All right.
The plastic makes you a victim. The plastic makes you a victim. You will never participate in the capitalist process as a winner if you are a victim.
All right.
Then the brother came to me and he talked to me. He said, all this old capitalism crap you talking about, he said, you ought to shut up because we don't want to be engaged in capitalism. I said, show me your wallet. So he took out his wallet. I said, ain't no money in it. He said, no. I said, well, how you live? Where you live? Because I got to pay rent where I live. Where you live at? You don't have to pay no rent. What do you eat? Because every time I go to the Jewel, they want long green pictures of dead presidents.
All right.
I mean, hey, man, be real. You can't live in the United States of America without any money.
That's right.
I don't know a problem that our people have that would not be solved by more money. Now you see me afterwards. You see me afterwards if you got a problem that money won't solve, because I want to know about it, because I'm making a list of them.
All right.
Because in a capitalist country, you see, that's the whole gig.
That's right.
That's the whole gig. The whole gig is to make everything cost money. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, everything is for sale.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Everything.
Ask Jesse Jackson.
Now, if you want to change things around here, I'm with you. I'm for you. But in the meantime, while you changing, you got to eat. Because if you don't eat, you're going to be one dead revolutionary.
All right. All right.
So let's be real. I'm trying to stick to what's real, ladies and gentlemen, because it's this tension between what's real and what's ideal that's killing our kids because they don't know how to deal with it. Okay, what's the problem here? The problem here is that the economy has been restructured.
All right.
So that the jobs that people used to get with little or no education have now disappeared.
All right.
In order to get one of those jobs, you now have to commute to Taiwan.
All right.
Or Mexico City.
All right.
Or Haiti. You got to commute for those jobs now, ladies and gentlemen. They're not in Brooklyn. Okay? So those jobs are gone. So what are our people doing now that those jobs have disappeared? Using their usual creativity to create new ones. But where is the opening for these new creative endeavors? In drugs.
All right.
We don't have a drug policy in the United States. I know you know better than that.
All right.
We don't have a drug policy. We got a prison policy, but no drug policy. 80% of the cocaine used in the United States is used by white people.
All right.
80%. But look at television every night. Do you see them going to jail?
No.
Because that's not the way the business is structured.
All right.
You see, the drug industry is now a part of the gross national product. And they can get rid of it if they wanted to. Everybody's, mad at Kurt Schmoke because he said, and Joycelyn Elders because they're talking about legalizing drugs. Nobody gonna legalize drugs. You don't have to take those two people seriously. It's not gonna happen because people make too much money off it. Not us. Not us. We're getting killed and going to prison. But that's part of the deal too. Look at this capitalist plan now. Look at it. What did I tell you was to make a profit by any means necessary. Right? Okay, how you make a profit here? Well, you build the prisons. Where are these prisons built? In New York City? In Brooklyn? Oh, where are the prisons built?
Upstate.
Who lives there?
White folks.
Okay, then who's going to build these prisons, ladies and gentlemen? Who's going to provide the guards in these prisons, ladies and gentlemen? I rest my case.
All right.
Going to provide jobs, both construction, maintenance. Okay, that's where the job's going to be in prison. All right, now let's look at where the money goes. A sociologist named Troy Duster at the University of California, Berkeley, has been studying the drug business. Troy is a brother. He's a sociologist. And what he noticed is that there are layers just like in any other hierarchy, right? The guys at the top, guys at the bottom. Okay, as you come the top, the international cartel that runs the drug business, it's on top. Those are the international owners of the drug business. And then underneath them is a layer of international distributors. These are the people that distribute drugs all over the world. Then underneath them is a loose network of international bankers. They launder the money so that it can be distributed into legitimate business. And it is this money that's fueling the economy now.
That's it. There you go.
So if you're looking forward to drugs disappearing, you are really naive.
That's right.
Black people just don't get it.
That's right.
They just don't get it.
That's right.
The bottom of the industry, the street industry, is run by poor black and Latino people, or anybody else that's poor won't get in it. Now these are the people selling on the street, so they get caught and they get put in jail. Now, the part of the drug business that's used by the middle class elite gives you less time in jail than that sold to the poor. So as you come down the line from the international cartel, you get blacker and blacker and blacker, okay? And the punishment starts with the street level.
All right.
No bankers go to jail.
That's right.
No bankers go to jail.
That's right.
The field regional representatives in the country, they don't go to jail.
Right.
The couriers go to jail. The street distributors go to jail.
That's right.
The managers of the distribution in the poor communities go to jail.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's easier to put them in jail. Because they have no group that helps them to survive.
That's right.
So these people come from the dysfunctional groups in the society.
All right.
These are the groups whose culture doesn't save them.
All right. All right.
Because the people haven't had enough sense to save their culture.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
Black people just don't get it.
All right.
We just don't get it. We just don't get it.
All right.
Other groups come in this country, they get it right away.
All right.
And we get mad at them because they get it.
All right. That's it.
I've been away from Chicago for 20 years. I came back 2 years ago. I walked down, I couldn't believe what I was seeing on 47th Street. The stores are all owned by Arabs and Koreans. These were stores that used to be owned by black people. Now none of them are. They work from dawn to sunset. They're in these stores all day long, selling us what we need. They have their families working in there. They don't hire nobody. Black people out there picketing, talking about they don't hire no black people. Ain't nobody in there. Everybody's related. They're all family. I said, how you gonna get a job in there? You're not Korean, fool.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta be in their family to work there.
That's right.
When the Nation of Islam began buying up 79th Street in Chicago in the 1960s, I thought we finally had gotten it.
All right.
But this effort was lost in the usual ego struggles of African American men.
All right.
Ego struggles have spoiled more freedom efforts in my lifetime than I would care to stand up here and talk to you about.
Thank you very much.
In fact, I have been involved in so many that now I just refuse to join another movement.
That's right.
We must learn to work together as a group. Alton talked to us about that tonight. I won't repeat it because he talked to us about that. We must learn to do this, ladies and gentlemen, because everybody does it if they get out of poverty in this country. They work together as a group. They work together as a group. If we are to survive and be autonomous in the United States, we must change our way of looking at living. Our culture is no longer functional because we've lost so much of the culture that used to save us. Our children are killing each other and us because we are not paying attention to what is happening to them.
All right.
Alton made reference to the prisons. That's the second part of the gross national product. In every state, they are building these prisons to put our people in order to get us out of the labor market, and then to exploit us for providing jobs for them. Either way you look at it, going into the drug industry to try to be a businessman at the lower end where you get killed, or going to prison, we're still, once again, exploited, enslaved, used for others to become wealthy so they can be rich. We spend a lot of time being resentful of Koreans and Hispanic people and Arabs who are trying to use this system the way that we should be using it. Now, why don't we do this? Let's look at that for a minute.
All right.
You remember when I told you about we tell our kids all the time in school, take a turn, but in the real world you don't take a turn? Okay. We also teach our kids that there's something wrong with being separate. As soon as we get a little money, we want to be as close to white people as we can get. We want to live in their neighborhoods. We want to go to their schools. We want to marry them. We just got the problem. Right? We just have the problem. We don't like us. Right? We don't like us. That's a big problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big problem. As soon as we get a little bit of money, we want to run away from us. Now, what do other groups do? They run together. And the first stage of that inclusion model is called separatism. And they come together because they have a common culture that saves them from these obstacles. Right? Okay. We need to think about being separate. We need to stop being afraid of nationalism, because we're afraid of it.
All right.
We're afraid of it.
Talk to us.
And our enemies want us to stay afraid.
That's it. All right.
Because next to God, nationalism is the most powerful organizing force that man knows.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
The most powerful is God. And if you don't believe me, look at the fundamentalist right, how they are driving abortion out of this country.
All right.
Without changing the law.
That's right.
How are they doing it? Killing doctors.
All right.
Shooting them.
All right.
See, that's what a powerful dynamic could do for you. If we had a powerful God dynamic, our kids wouldn't be killing each other. They might be killing somebody else, but it wouldn't be each other.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
But we don't have that. We don't have a powerful God dynamic. We used to, but we don't more. Next to that is nationalism. That's the next most powerful dynamic you have for organizing people.
All right.
Now, at one time, we had a model, and that was the Nation of Islam. And they were using it to death, but ego killed it. In her paper, Whiteness as Property, Harvard Law Review, June 1993, Cheryl I. Harris argues that whiteness is built on both exclusion and racial subjugation. And this is how she says it's used. Race has not only been constructed as race, but also as a privilege. That's why we got this hair problem. Today in the United States, race is determined by visibility and reputation, because there are over 1 million African Americans passing for white every day. And if you make friends with some of them, they will give you some powerful bits of information about the other folks that help you And remember what Alton told you, information is power, right? I seek them out in any institution I go to. I try to see if I can find out who's passing. Now, you can't tell on them now. That ain't the point. I want the information. Tell me what these doctors do in this hospital when they come in here. Tell me how they treat us when we come in here, because I want to know before I bring my mama over here. And they'll tell you. That's if you don't turn them in. All right? Okay. Harris argues that the decision to pass as white was not a choice, if by that word one means voluntariness or lack of compulsion. She says that the fact of race subordination was coercive and circumscribed the liberty to self-define. In other words, because you are black, your ability to define yourself is limited in this. And passing for white frees you of that limitation. So she says if that is true and you want to define who you are, then it might not be voluntary. Now, my interaction with some of these people is that they passing for white in order to what? Survive and have self-autonomy. Okay? Now let's look at the real world that makes you want to do that. And then let's think about those of us who can't if we wanted to. I mean, you think I'd get away with it? I go out and say, I'm passing for white. I don't think so. Self-determination of identity is not a right for us. It's not a right for us. But it's a privilege for white people. Right? So the effect of protecting whiteness at law was to devalue those who were not white by coercing them to deny their identity. So I straighten my hair. I whiten my skin. I cut off my nose. I fix my lips. I cover up my heels and wear a girdle on my butt so I can look what? White. Because that's the identity that I want. Now this is the crux of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, for our children. And we have chosen, and I say chosen because we didn't have to do this, we have chosen to destroy the main weapon for survival, which is our identity.
All right.
And this has posed a severe problem for us and for our children. Because if I don't like who I am, I'm hardly going to raise a child who does. Because my child is a mirror of me.
All right. All right.
The way out is through mobilization of the group to struggle for the survival of the individual.
All right.
And you have to understand that black folks just don't get it.
All right.
I'm not giving up my individual right to sacrifice for the group. That's not what it's all about. Hey, the problem with that is the Constitution gives you individual rights, but you can only protect them as a group.
All right.
See, that's the problem.
All right. All right.
That's the problem.
Say that again.
To survive, the group must ensure that each individual member is able to take care of himself or herself, reproduce himself or herself, and take care of the progeny. And we are losing the group function. It doesn't matter where. We're losing it in the family. We're losing it in the church. We're certainly losing it in the school. We're losing it in the community. We're losing it in our institutions. Our families are disrupted. Only 26% of all African American children live with both parents. Our churches are predominantly female, 80%. Our schools are mostly dysfunctional. Children do not learn anything in them. And our communities are disorganized. No leadership, no resources, no support. Black people still don't get it. We don't get it. We just don't get it. that it's the group function that's going to carry us through. It's the group function. Individual members working together as a group in order to take care of their own children, take care of their own poor and elderly, take care of their own disorganized and mentally ill. We can't even get control of the NAACP. This is our largest organization, and we can't even get control of it. We cannot even hire and keep the executive director of the NAACP. And this is no surprise.
All right.
I don't know whether you're too young to remember or not, but I certainly remember when Julian Bond wanted Roy Wilkins' job and couldn't get it because of his position on Israel. Look at the African Americans chosen by President Clinton. Ask yourself if they represent you.
No.
Who recommended these folks?
All right.
What group?
Corporate interests.
I don't think African Americans did it.
That's right.
See, black people still don't get it.
All right.
We look at these black people on TV and we say, oh, President Clinton, he got a black man. Tell him, yeah, but who picked him?
That's right.
Whom does he represent?
That's right. Not us.
Every group, through the pooling of its own resources, lifts itself up out of poverty.
That's right.
If you're waiting for Bill Clinton to lift you out of poverty, you still don't get it. You really don't get it.
That's right.
If you're waiting for the Black Caucus to lift you out of poverty, you don't get it. You still don't get it. Every group, through the pooling of its own resources, lifts itself up out of poverty. We keep expecting some other group to do it for us. It's never going to happen.
All right.
Black people still don't get it. We must, through the group function, build our own hospitals. I remember when I lived at 8622 South Wabash in a neighborhood called Chatham in 1969. Elijah Muhammad wanted to build a hospital on 83rd Street. The middle-class blacks who were my neighbors in Chatham ran down to Mayor Daley and begged him to do something about this assault on our middle-class community. And the mayor converted the desired area into a park. So instead of a black-owned hospital, we got a park. Later, the only black hospital in Chicago, Provident, closed. And then we had none. See, black people don't get it. They just don't get it. When I came back to Chicago in 1992, you know what I did, of course, was to immediately begin working with the schools. It was interesting for me to go back home. Those of you who know me know I started teaching Chicago Public Schools in 1947, and I taught every single grade. I started out as a Latin high school teacher in Wendell Phillips High School. Remember, I came up during Jim Crow, so I've never taught anybody but African American children. I came up during Jim Crow. I taught every grade. I taught Latin in high school. I taught educatively, mentally handicapped, primary and secondary. I taught English to the Spanish speaking. I taught every single grade. I was an elementary school principal and a high school principal in Chicago Public Schools. Then I was the director of the Woodlawn Experimental Schools Project, which was Chicago's experiment with community control, like your IS 201. I was director of that in Chicago. And then when the funding ran out for that, they put me downtown because they didn't want me back out in the field. So I was being punished. And I was given an assignment with this white man. I hated him. I'll just tell you the truth. I try not to hate, because hate really destroys you. But I hated this man. And the feeling was mutual. I understand, the feeling was mutual. So I wrote to the deputy superintendent, who was an African American, and I wrote him a long letter. I still have a copy of this letter, and I have his reply, because one day I'm going to put it in the book, although I might wait until he's deceased. And anyway, I wrote him a letter and asked him to move me out of here because of this racist man, and also he was to some other problems. And so the African American wrote back to me and said there wasn't anything he could do to help me, that that I would just have to get through it like everybody else did. And so I quit. I quit the Chicago Public Schools and left Chicago. That was 1972. And this white man went to jail. He's still in jail. So when I got back home in 1992, I started work with schools. I'm now the Dean of the School of Education at DePaul University, and this is a strange place for me to be. It's a Roman Catholic university, and I'm Baptist. When I first came, I was going to retire. Those of you who know me know my mother had Alzheimer's, and I was trying to get home. I'm an only child. I did get home, thank God for her many blessings. I did get home in time before my mother died. But anyway, I was retiring from the University of Pittsburgh. I was 65 years old when this man told me this job was available. So I told him I really wasn't interested. I said, I'm not Roman Catholic, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a Jesuit institution, reviewing esoteric bodies of knowledge and all. So he said, oh, this is not a Jesuit school. Well, I'm not Roman Catholic, so that didn't have any meaning for me. He said, this is a Vincentian school, and I didn't know what that meant either. So he sent me a book about St. Vincent de Paul, who was the founder of the Congregation of the Mission, which is the order of priests who founded DePaul. He's a very interesting man, St. Vincent de Paul. One time in his life, he was enslaved, and he founded this mission to help poor people. And so when I read his story, I said, well, at least I'll go talk to these people and see if this is for real or if this is, like 9/11, just a joke. So I went in there to talk to them. And I found out that they really are for real. They have a feeding station there on Sheffield and Webster at the St. Vincent de Paul Church. And if you get there in the morning between 7:30 and 8:30, you'll see a line of like 50 to 100 black men coming in there to be fed and clothed. They also have programs for juveniles and little children in the St. Vincent de Paul Center. So I said, okay, well, maybe God has blessed me and finally put me somewhere where I wanted to fight people to help poor people. And that is true. In the twilight years of my life, I am in a job where I can, without any apologies, anytime I want to, help poor people. And so that's what I did. Those of you who know me remember when I got fired from my job October the 9th, 1975 as superintendent of the DC Public Schools, that I promised God if she would help me find another job somewhere, doing her will, that I would devote my life to doing that. And so this is where I am. Okay, so I have 10 schools. I have 10 schools that I work in. 10 schools that I work in. These are schools that are 100% African American or 100% Latino. The children are all poor and they're all low achieving. And my job is to elevate and accelerate student achievement in reading and mathematics as measured on standardized tests for these children in these schools, and we're trying to do it in 1 year. Now, since I've been back in Chicago, I've been having a big fight with the reform movement, which is largely white. Now, mind you, the school system there is 56% African American, 32% Latino, and the rest white. But the entire reform movement is made up of elite white males, most of them are middle class or more. What they are trying to do now is to abolish standardized tests in the schools so that when they take the schools over, when they privatize the schools, they will not have to be accountable to you. Now, there are several things that they're using to their advantage, and that is, first place, we suspect these tests. We always have. We have always been in the vanguard fighting the standardized test movement in this country. We have always been in the vanguard of that movement. And we have always said, back to Allison Davis, way back, 1940, that these tests are biased against poor people and against minorities. We have always said that. We have always said that. So this is not new to us. We understand that. So now they're playing on our suspicions. They're saying to us, oh, you know these tests are culturally biased? And we say, yes, sure enough, that's right. So they say, well, we want your support to abolish these tests. And we say, yeah, fine, you got it. And then they abolish the tests. Then they take the schools away from you and give them to the corporations. And then you will have no way of knowing whether your kid can read or not.
That's right.
You cannot hold them accountable because you don't know what they do.
That's right.
Okay, but let's look at the real world now that these kids got to live in. Do you think that DePaul is going to stop asking your kid to pass the SAT with a 1,000 score to get admitted? Do you really believe that? No. Right. Because if you said yes, black people still don't get it. You still don't get it. Listen. Your kid, whether you abolish them or not, your kid is still going to have to take the SAT, the ACT, the MCAT, the LSAT, and any other kind of T that they got going for them. They want to keep you out of a job. This system is not about to be test-free because tests sort you out too effectively. This white reform movement is trying to sell you assessment by portfolio and calling it authentic in order to pull the wool over your eyes. Let me tell you, anytime a test depends upon a white jury to tell you whether or not you are competent, you can believe it is not going to work for you. And if you think so, black people still don't get it. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. All right? Now, the only place in this society that you can get in by portfolio is prison.
All right.
You can't come to DePaul by portfolio. You can't get in Harvard by portfolio. You cannot get a promotion in the Chicago police force by portfolio. You have to pass a standardized norm reference police test that you take with paper and pencil. Ladies and gentlemen, the only place you get in by portfolio is prison. Now, if you do not understand it, you just don't get it.
All right.
You just don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, you just don't get it.
All right. All right.
So we have this struggle going on in Chicago. In 1988, a reform group changed the law so that now principals are hired and fired by local school councils in every school, and we have 506 of them in Chicago. The principals have no tenure, but 4-year contracts. Some schools have had 4 principals in the 6 years since the law passed, depriving these schools of leadership continuity without which nothing happens. And just like everybody else, if you do not train and educate people to assume the roles you create for them to do in a society, they will try to use their former experience in order to construct that role. So when they created local school councils and had these elections and elected all of these people to these local school councils for these 506 schools, they did not provide them with any training. They did not provide them with any education. So the people did what anyone would do. They constructed their role according to the only model they knew, which was the Democratic Party patronage model.
All right.
And that's what they do. Ladies and gentlemen, in Chicago, nobody cares whether our children learn to read. Nobody. It's enough to break your heart. You walk into these schools, ladies and gentlemen, and you see our children in there wanting to learn, anxious to learn, with teachers who don't give a damn, who don't even try, who give excuses and excuses and excuses, and who still get their paychecks, still get promoted. And the teachers who are trying, let's don't leave them out. The teachers in there who are trying get discouraged. They get discouraged. How would you feel if you knocked yourself out with 30 little kids for 180 days, and when you finished with them, they had grown 3 and 4 years in reading, and then you sent them to a sucker who didn't do anything for the year, and when you saw them again, they had lost everything that you taught them? How would you feel? You can't do this to these teachers. We can't do this to these teachers. We can't do this to these teachers. We've got to make these schools places that work for our children.
That's right.
And that's our responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. That's our responsibility. We cannot send our children to these schools, I don't care whether public, private, or parochial, and abandon your children in there and expect people to do what you should be doing for them. It's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And if you think it is, you still don't get it. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. At face value, as I said, the abandonment of the test looks like a good deal for African Americans until you view it in the setting of this whole society. And then when you look at it that way, it takes on another face. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make it in this society if you cannot read.
Well, say it again. It is. It is. No,
Our children are coming out of the high school and they can't read. They can't read. And our children are normal, ladies and gentlemen. Our children are normal. But we allow people to say they're not. Every time you sign a blue sheet sending a black kid to educably mentally handicapped, you're saying this is not a normal child. Listen, God did not create that many dumb black people. God didn't do that. You're doing it. These children just need to be taught. They need to be taught. They need to be taught. In 1932, Carter G. Woodson told us if a child doesn't learn, the child needs to be studied, not abandoned, not penalized, not put away, not labeled, studied, so that you can teach him or her. We're not doing that. We don't even expect teachers to do it. We don't even expect them to do it. We expect them to stand up in TV. I saw them just yesterday on TV saying, oh, my kids are crack babies. And, well, that's 1%. What about all those that are not crack babies that can't read? My parents don't come to school. No, they work in 3 jobs. My parents don't do this and whatever. All these excuses, ladies and gentlemen, that you and I know are not true. Raise your hand if you were born with money. You had all the money you needed. Raise your hand. I want to see them. You could learn to read, and you were poor. How many of you had only one parent? Grew up with only one parent? Okay, how many of y'all can read? Yeah, well, okay. Then why you let teachers get away with this? Why do you do this? Why do you let them stand up on TV and let them say this and then give them a raise? You got, hey, ladies and gentlemen, you still don't get it. Just don't get it. What has happened to our group pride, our group culture, our group advancement, group charity? We don't even want to take care of each other.
That's right.
We don't even want to, I go around to middle class people like me and say, let's raise some money, get some place for these people to live that's homeless. I got to pay for my bills. I got a $500 note on my car. Yeah, okay. Who cares anymore about the students?
Nobody.
Our children. Who is responsible for seeing that they survive? We have proceeded with political strategies as though politics can be considered separately from economic strategies. This won't work.
It won't work.
We've got to stop spending all our money as consumers, and we've got to learn to be producers and owners.
That's right.
Listen, our children do not need 2 weeks of sharing in kindergarten. They need 2 weeks of ownership. They need to learn what it means to own something.
That's right.
You need in every school that you find African Americans to have them open a bank account. Every single kid in the school, open a bank account. Learn how to save money so that they can pool their money and have a business. That's the way you make it here.
That's right.
We have no way way to sanction leaders who don't lead, teachers who don't teach, principals who don't principal, preachers who don't advance the group, politicians who don't represent our interests, businessmen who don't help the group, athletes and entertainers who sell out. We don't have any way to sanction these folks.
That's right. That's right.
I was standing in the record, no, they don't call them records anymore. We call those things, Georgie. What do you call them little round things? CDs. I was in there, the little girl was buying a CD by this foul group that denigrates women. So I went up to her and I said, why are you buying that? And so she looked at me and she said, you got a problem, what's happening? And I said, look, do you know how he talks about you in that record, on that record? And she said, no, I don't listen to the words, I just like the music. So I said, look, this man talks about you like you a living dog. I said, and now and that he calls you by the dog's name, bitch. I said, and you gonna pay money to take that home and participate in your own denigration? So she looked at me and she said, I don't listen to the words. I said, listen to them. I said, you listen to them. Because what you're doing is contributing to your own destruction. Right? We know these people. You and I know who these people are, but we go support them with our dollars, go see them, give them money. The best way you can bring these entertainers down if you don't like them is don't spend your money with them. We worship consumerism. Oh my God, brothers and sisters, we worship consumerism and materialism. And as though selfishness is a virtue, just like Ayn Rand teaches. In fact, I have lived long enough to see a new Rand disciple who is black and female. Oh, God have mercy. The struggle for equality will not occur without a group effort, ladies and gentlemen. Individualism is not the way other groups advance in this society. Wealth is accumulated by one, but passed on by the group, by the family, by the business, by the institution, by the organization. The Kennedy fortune, the Rockefeller empires, those were begun by one person but passed on and increased by the group effort.
That's right.
That is the nature of the company.
That's right.
The heart and engine of capitalism. The Millionaires Club, formed in the African American community, largely by entertainers and athletes, passes on what and to whom. Except for a few of them, like Bill Cosby, it seems to be too little and too late. It is more important to us to buy a $40,000 car than to give $10,000 to Philander Smith College or Tougaloo. Right. We just don't get it, ladies and gentlemen. Black people just don't get it. Right. There are not enough people like Ruth Hare in Philadelphia who accumulated wealth which she invested to pay the college tuitions and fees for a group of sixth graders if and when they graduated from high school. One Benz would pay 4 years of college for somebody.
All right.
Okay. Raise your hand if you think Bill Clinton is going to be the father to our children. Raise your hand if you think the Democrats are going to take care of our elderly.
All right.
I know you don't think the Republicans are going to do anything for us.
All right.
If it is to happen, we have to do it. If not, ladies and gentlemen, we will not survive.
All right.
We will not survive.
All right.
You remember things fall apart? The white man put a knife to our people and things fell apart. That will surely happen to us if we don't get it.
All right.
In her 1979 dissertation, Carolyn Elaine Bennett Murray wrote the following. When teachers made causal attributions about the importance of their own characteristics in determining a successful performance for a student, they tended to perceive themselves as more responsible for a successful outcome for students belonging to a subordinate group, blacks, lower class, those failing in school, than to a superordinate group. If the superordinate kids failed, it was the teacher's fault. But if the black kids failed, it was their fault. Okay? However, counter to prediction, teachers perceive themselves as more responsible for a successful performance by black middle-class students than black lower-class students. But not so with whites. White middle-class students were responsible for their success, but black middle-class children's success was due to their teacher. And a reverse pattern of responding resulted when black middle-class and lower-class students failed. Teachers preferred, ladies and gentlemen, to teach black lower-class students over black middle-class students. The major implication of Bennett Murray's findings is, to the extent that positive sentiments manifest themselves in rewards, a minority student will often be rewarded for failure and punished for success. Hence, the differential level of scholastic achievement observed among students of various socioeconomic and racial backgrounds may have less to do with tangibles, such as books, buildings, equipment, and so forth, than to do with intangibles, such as the differential expectations, the causal attributions, and sentiments expressed by the teacher for the student. Here we find that teachers tend to like, that is, express positive sentiment toward, students whose characteristics live up to their expectations. Hence, since smart African American students do not live up to the teacher's low expectations for African American students, they do not like them. So the African American student in schools is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. Now tell me, who wants to stay in school under these conditions? Yet, many African American teachers behave in the same way, disregarding their tradition of pride, honor, intelligence, and struggle. I do not know what has happened to us, ladies and gentlemen, over the 40 years that I've been in education. How did we arrive in this place? The white man has put the knife to what binds us together, and now things fall apart. After all of this history, struggle, the great men and women, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Martin Delany, Sojourner Truth, W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells Barnett, Booker T. Washington, Mary Church Terrell, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and Betty Shabazz, Leonard Jeffries, Shashi McIntyre, Donald Smith, and Alton Maddox. We still don't get it.
I hope you have watched and listened to that powerful speech from American activist. She is known as Dr. Barbara Sismo. Dr. Barbara Sismo, she has come out and highlight some of the challenges and problems that the black people they have been facing, they are facing in United States. And also, she is calling all black people, the black Americans, to come together and unite. And also, she is waking up all black people to still continue fighting for their rights. We all know the black people during slavery, the black Americans, they have been fighting for their freedom. They have been fighting so that they can get their full independence in the United States. But we have seen up to date the black Americans, they are being given less opportunity. These people, they have been oppressed. These people, they are taken as money generators in the United States, because any small mistake that black people, he or she is, he must paid or he must go to jail. So this is tell you that the black people, they are being oppressed. The black people, they have been taken as a money generator in the United States. That's why Dr. Barbara Sismo, she's telling the black people, there's no need for you to sleep again. We need to wake up and continue fight for the freedom, because these people that are taking them, these people, they are not ready to give the black people, the black Americans, their freedom, because you can see even the jobs that the white people they are offering to the black people. It is this kind of jobs that it is not a well-paid job. If you will find a black person it is very rare to find a black person getting a well-paid job in United States. So this is tell you that the black people, they are being given as a second option. So for the white people, if they have a good job, they must find their own people so that they can give them the first priority, and then the second priority, it is the black people. So this is tell you that these people, they are not appreciating the black people, and also they still want to be on top of black people. They are still oppressing the black people. And also Dr. Barbara Sismo, she has come out and called unity amongst black people. She has come out and say, why is it these other races, they are speaking with one language? These other races, they are supporting each other, but the black Americans, they are not speaking in one language. They are not supporting each other. And for me, I can tell you it is true. We as black people, it is not only the black Americans. We as black people, we have this mentality of supporting other races. You will find that we black people, instead of supporting our own races, we are going to support the white people, the Indian people, the Chinese people. So we leaving our own races. When a black person, he has opened a store, you will find that the same black person, her fellow black person, it is the one who wants to see this black store going down, this black store being closed, because we black people, we have this mentality that we need to see our own fellow going down so that we can be very happy. But these other races, you can see, like the Chinese in United States, these people, they are supporting each other. These people, they are shopping in their store only. These people, they are doing businesses with themselves only. So these people, they are speaking with one language. You can see the Indians, you can see the Arabs. These people, they are supporting each other. But for us black people, we are not supporting each other. That's why Dr. Barbara, she's saying that we black people also, we need to come together. We need to unite. It is now the right time for us black people to support our own race. And that's why these other races, they will be on top of us black people if we will continue supporting these other races but not our own races. It is now the right time for us black people to speak with one mind, to speak one language. We should not see our fellow brother and sister sleeping hungry as a black people and we live like that. No, we need to go and support these black fellows. So we black people, we need to open our mind. These other races, they are speaking one language. They are supporting their own. But we black people, we are not supporting our own. Instead of supporting our own, we are the ones who dragging, or we want to see our own people failing. So we need to stop all these nonsense that we have as a black people. That's why I have decided to share this clip of Dr. Barbara so that we as black people, we can learn, because this is a powerful speech. And also nowadays it is so hard to find the activists and the leaders who will come out and speak about our history, about how black people we need how black people we need to do so that we can prosper. Because some of these videos that are bringing to you, you cannot find it in the national media. No, the national media, they cannot they cannot showcase this speech. And also some of the American activists who they always fight for the rights of the black people, they are not being allowed to go to the national media so that they can tell the world exactly how the black people, they are being oppressed, how the black people, the challenges of the black people they are going through in United States. But because of the national media, they cannot show you. We as black people, we are be able to showcase you exactly some of the challenges and the struggle that black people they are going through. Not only the black Americans, the black people all over the world. We black people, we are being used. We have seen a lot of racism towards black people. We black people, we are being oppressed. You can see our country, our African. You know, Africa, it is the motherland of the black people. These people, they have called Africa the third world country. Africa, they have showcased the bad image of Africa, telling the black Americans that people in Africa, they are dying with hunger. These people, they are poor. It is not a safe place for you to come in Africa. They are always portrayed bad pictures about Africa. But no, Africa, we are good. We have everything. We Africans, we are living our best life. And also, these people that are showcasing how bad Africa it is, and they are the people who are making Africa to be the bad, because these people, they are the ones who are taking our minerals, they are taking our resources back to their home. They are building the hospital with our resources, with our minerals from here in Africa, and yet they are calling our countries very poor country and not a country to live. So for me, I can tell you that we black people, we need to come together, and also we need to support each other. The best thing that we can do, it is unite as a black people, and also fight the rights of every black person. We are tired of seeing these people treating us very bad. It is now the right time for us black people to wake up and unite. Revolution amongst black people, it has started. And also, I'm calling black Americans, the Afro-Caribbean and African people to unite and come together. I believe there is a power in unity. And also, we black people, I keep on telling you that we black people, we are the majority. We are the majority. So these other races, they are fearing us, because right now, population of the black people, it is increasing, while their population, it is decreasing. So thank you so much, guys. I don't want to talk too much. And also, you can share this video and like this video, because when you like this video, according to the YouTube algorithm, it will spread to a lot of people, and they will know exactly how black people revolution it has started. So kindly subscribe, share, and let's talk more on the comment section. See you on my next one. Bye bye.